This is the lecture for Bernard Williams's article, The Self and the Future. And in this lecture, we're going to talk about different theories of personal identity. So we've seen these three theories that I have listed here in the upper right before. So we saw them come up in PHI. He didn't label them with these labels, but that's okay. Who cares? So the first kind of theory is a psychological theory of personal identity. The second kind of theory is a physical theory of personal identity. And the third kind of theory is conventionalism about personal identity. So psychological theories of personal identity say that personal identity depends on psychological characteristics. So for X to be identical to Y means sharing certain psychological characteristics. We're not going to talk a lot about what those characteristics are. We'll see a much more detailed, not a much, we will see a detailed psychological theory of personal identity when we get to Parfit. That section of the class is when we'll focus on the psychological theories of personal identity. But the thought is just to like raise this as one of the main possibilities. These sorts of theories are sort of very popular theories of personal identity. Lots of philosophers have psychological theories of personal identity. And one of the main purposes of this article by Williams is to call into question psychological theories of personal identity. So he wants to raise some doubts about these theories and especially raise some doubts about how these theories compare to physical theories and to conventionalist theories. And so moving on to physical theories, again, we've seen this in Perry. These are theories that say personal identity depends on some sort of physical characteristic, typically having the same body or often having the same brain. Maybe the brain is the important part of the body, so you go wherever your brain goes. And although Williams doesn't go quite as far as endorsing a physical theory of personal identity, mostly this article is sort of raising considerations that defend physical theories of personal identity, or at least that's a big part of the article. So in terms of knowing what you're going to read, keep in mind that Williams is sort of interested in seeing what we can say about physical theories of personal identity, especially versus psychological theories. And then the third category of theories, conventionalism, we'll see Williams talk about what conventionalism is and why he doesn't think this is a good theory of personal identity. I raise this because it did, I think, come up briefly in Perry, so you've also seen this. Conventionalism means that who you are is sort of, there's not like a deeper truth about it. It's sort of a question of how we choose to describe things, how we choose to label things. So it's a matter of how we talk about things that determines who you are identical to. This is a good one to have in the back of our minds because there are ways of reading most Buddhist theories of personal identity, which are sort of no-self theories, as having a sort of conventionalism. Like you can imagine the connections between conventionalism and no-self theories because conventionalism just says, look, it's just a matter of convention who you are. We can sort of choose to talk in a certain sort of way, and this is who you are, or we talk in a different sort of way, and you're a different sort of thing. And so that means there's nothing like really fundamental metaphysically about who you are. And the idea that there's nothing fundamental metaphysically about who you are, that's another way of describing no self theories. No self theories think fundamentally, metaphysically, there is no such thing as you. And so uh, no self theories, including a number of Buddhist interpretations of no self theories, can maybe be thought of as conventionalist theories if we want to. And so when we see Williams talk about what's going on with conventionalism in this paper, you can also think about this as applying to no self theories. We're not, like, we don't have planned any no self readings right now, but of course we only have about half the course planned out, so we might vote for some no self theories at some point. The first set of readings in this course, due the very first day, was going to be some no self slash conventionalist stuff, which was Hume and some Buddhist stuff. But then I realized, no, I can't make you read a bunch of stuff like due Monday, the very first day of the semester. So I cut that. But I don't know if people are interested, you can vote for no self theories and we'll put that stuff back. And so the thought here is just to keep in mind that conventionalism and no self are maybe potentially closely linked, and then, of course, look at what Williams has to say about conventionalism. The end.